Morning.
Yes.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. Dark, rainy. So better be here than outside. It's 10:01 and I'm going to call the meeting to order. And Dawn, could you please do roll call?
Commissioner, I would also like to remind everyone that we are live streaming both to our site and also potentially on CTN this morning, and that this meeting is being recorded. Jerry Abrahams.
Here.
Cindy Butts.
Here.
Wendy Clark. Phil DeFranzo.
Here.
Heidi DeWeingart.
Here.
Claudio Gualtieri. Timothy Hodges.
Here.
Catherine McKinnon.
Here.
Commissioner Mascara Bruno.
Here.
Commissioner Perez. Franklin Perry.
Here.
Matt Puglisi.
Here.
Chelsea Ross.
Here.
Sarah Sanders.
Here.
Lisa Tupper Bates. Greg Ugalde.
Present.
We do have a quorum in attendance for the meeting.
I'm also want it for the record that I'm here.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner. My apologies.
Yep. No, I was not signed on yet when you call my name.
Got it.
I
Thank you.
signed on after you call my name.
Aha, it's a timing thing. Got it.
Yes.
Thank you, Dawn. Did you move on to the public comments?
Absolutely. This is the only opportunity on the agenda for the public to provide comments. If you would like to provide a comment, please unmute yourself and state your name, or if you are in the room, please let us know. To ensure that everyone has the opportunity, comments will be limited to 3 minutes.
And I understand that we do have a visitor.
Yes, hi,
Hi, so Scott Hunter wants to make a comment.
where would you like me?
You can sit here,
Okay,
please.
Housing Commissioner Mascara Bruno, Executive Director Nataraja, Directors, Committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to address the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority Board of Directors as a member of the public. I prepared a written copy of my comment, and I'd be happy to provide it for the record. My name is Scott Hunter. I'm a resident of Woodbridge, and I'm here to comment on the action you may be taking regarding the modified financing of the William H. Warner Elderly Housing Community, which I'll refer to simply as Warner. Around 1990, Woodbridge decided it was desirable to provide housing for elderly persons on a municipally owned land. After reviewing the development proposals solicited in a competitive process, Woodbridge selected and granted a 60-year ground lease to Woodbridge Elderly Housing Limited Partnership. This lease was for the purpose of constructing, maintaining, operating, and managing 30 rental apartments and related facilities for elderly persons, with financing provided by the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority. Although 20% of the apartments are restricted for rent by low-income persons, as I learned yesterday from watching the live stream of the Mortgage Committee meeting, all 30 apartments are currently within the traditional affordable rental ranges. Warner is a small project, but it's visible in our town with a historical resistance toward affordable housing. According to the 2023 Connecticut Department of Housing Appeals list, Woodbridge only has 40 total assisted units, representing 1.15 affordable housing. Warner makes up the vast majority, 75% of the town's affordable housing stock. Many of us in Woodbridge are striving to increase affordable housing, and we cannot risk even the perception of a negative experience from our collaboration with Connecticut Housing Finance Authority, which we deeply appreciate and desperately need. The qualifications of the new owner to operate an elderly housing community are critical to its success. The presentation yesterday to the Mortgage Committee indicated the request was just for modifications of the financing terms. The transfer, since it involves an assumption of debt, is kind of a different process for the asset management group, using a technical and detailed checklist, and that the new owner has no experience with any form of affordable housing, including, importantly here, elderly housing. This total lack of experience is to be mitigated with oversight and enforcement of the regulatory agreements. While thankful for the operational oversight that Connecticut Housing Finance Authority provides, it's important to be mindful that guardrails are never a substitute for a good driver. Due diligence about the new owner is straightforward and available to the public. He tells you what he's going to do and how he's going to do it. He has spoken about accumulating property, sometimes seemingly viewing tenants as commodities to be replaced by those willing to pay higher rent for modest property improvements. In a podcast featuring the new owner, he brags about making a sick deal on Warner. A review of the Connecticut judicial records, reveals 50 or so housing-related lawsuits involving the new owner over the last couple of years. Elderly housing success is not about accumulating doors. The real measure of success lies in how effectively you can support and serve the elderly residents living behind those doors. I understand the challenges a workout team may have to avoid REO inventory and return NPLs to the books. I began my legal career as a workout attorney before transitioning to an investment career in higher education. However, a transfer process and stabilization effort for an elderly housing community that relies on a technical and detailed checklist may err on a side without scrutiny of the effect an inexperienced operator may have on the lives within an elderly housing community. Also, the new owner's 5-year financial plan to attempt to raise rent on each of the 20 market units by 6% per year or 35% over the 5-year period lacked impact prediction and may err on a side without consideration of the current tenants. I appreciate that this is a board meeting to consider a mortgage commitment committee action item, but these are important considerations. Before there can be a change of ownership, Woodbridge must consent to the assignment. So my comments today may be more appropriately directed to the town. However, as a committed advocate for Woodbridge and a husband of a committed advocate for affordable housing, I felt it important to make these comments here. My intent is not to inflame, but to seek constructive dialogue that preserves and enhances our collaborative efforts. I'm happy to engage in a dialogue or take questions. Thank you for this opportunity to comment publicly.
Thank you, Scott. Any board member have any questions? All right, Scott, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So the projects mentioned by Scott will come under the mortgage committee. So we will proceed with the where is Dawn? Dawn, do we have any other comments from the public?
Thank you, Commissioner. Let me give one last opportunity for the public to provide comments. If you are online with us, please unmute yourself and state your name. I don't know that there's anyone else in the room. Hearing no additional comments, we will now end the public comment period. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Dawn. Nandini?
Yes.
The Executive Director's report?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Rainy day, but our spirits are up. So just wanted to highlight a few initiatives for you today that I think will be of interest, one of which we're going to present today for your approval. I'm actually not going to follow the report that was presented to you in writing. Mostly pictures of all of our events and activities during the month, but I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple of initiatives that we have launched and one that we hope to get your approval on today. So starting off with Build for CT, this is the middle income rental program that was launched in late 2023. The program is appears to be reaching a lot of different developers, market rate developers from all different parts of the state. There's significant interest that we've been able to generate in this program. We've signed on 6 lenders as participating lenders for this partnership with the banks program, and we've closed currently on 3 deals. A total of 677 units of housing, of which 213 are middle income, or roughly a little under 30%. I want to give a shout out to Pat and Vin Bergen, who've been relentlessly just having calls and meetings every week, every day. They've built a pretty strong pipeline for the program. So thus far, we have another 4 deals, or approximately 600 units of housing, 20% of which will be middle income, that are about to close imminently. Another 1,000, almost 1,000 units that have been pre-approved, 30% of which would be middle income. And a pipeline, of course, you never know if the pipeline is gonna generate units, but certainly having a pipeline is important, of another 20 deals, or 2,200 total units. And many of these deals were stalled, waiting for financing, or in another way, just kind of going through their permitting processes and things like that. And they're now seeing a path forward with the state's money. So all in all, we're talking over 35 deals, 4,500 units under construction or consideration, close to 1,400 of which are middle income. That's not bad for a program that was just launched in the last 6 to 9 months. Moving on to sort of where I am in my journey with the Achieving Excellence program, I want to thank the board for their support of my candidacy. I recently completed the program, and just as a reminder, part of the program was solving an organizational challenge chosen by me. And I've worked with a coach for the last 16 months to bring greater focus to solving, or helping to bring clarity to the organizational challenge. The challenge, by definition, has to be something that's central to the mission and purpose of CHFA, but it also has to be weighty enough to make it challenging, but yet feasible within a certain reasonable amount of time. So my selected challenge was solving for greater access to affordable and equitable homeownership. Specifically, the data shows that the disparity in homeownership rates between white people and Black people and people of color in the US is significant and growing. Connecticut is no exception. The challenges as to why that's the case are multifactorial, but there's evidence that African-American households have been disproportionately impacted by decades of local, state, and federal housing policies that were rooted in discrimination and racism. So I set out to determine if CHFA could take some positive steps toward remedying this problem, with the understanding that CHFA isn't going to be able to solve this alone or in a single year through a single program or activity. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't try. There are significant numbers of conditions why first-time home buyers have had difficulties. We all know about the competitive market, house price inflation, supply issues, but there are other factors like the presence of debt, and specifically student loan debt, that have been barriers for a while. And what you're going to hear today a little later on from Lisa Hensley is an attempt by us to expand access to homeownership for first-time home buyers by mitigating the barriers presented by student loan debt. It's not a program that's targeted at any one community or race. And yet the data tells us that the benefits of our program should accrue to people of color for the simple fact that they're more likely to be burdened with higher student loan debt, they benefit less from intergenerational wealth, and they're more likely to delay home ownership due to economic pressures. So we know that this program has the potential to be impactful, and we plan to use targeted marketing and outreach to reach minority borrowers and underserved communities. We presented this as a concept to you at the last meeting. At this meeting, we're seeking your approval to move forward with a student loan pilot. Mortgage Committee had a great discussion about this yesterday, and they unanimously approved it for your consideration today. And they have asked us to report back to you toward the end of this year on our progress and provide you some status updates. Finally, I know I've been speaking for a while, as part of our strategic planning updates to board, we are going to bring, if we have time, we want to bring to you a discussion on a program that's fairly small in the grand scheme of things in terms of what CHFA does. It's the Mobile and Manufactured Home Loan Program. There was a task force that the legislature had set up earlier this year that we were a part of. And CHFA has a program relating to the financing of mobile and manufactured home loans. By statute, we're required to have a program. Program has been underutilized. There's some anecdotal evidence that program requirements could be more effective in terms of reaching and providing greater access to our resources. And with that in mind, we have set out to streamline and reduce certain barriers to entry. So with that, I will take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. You have been pretty busy, huh?
I have.
Comments from the board members.
I just congratulations. Looks like George figured out how to put his hand up, but I started talking first. Just congratulations, Nandini, on the program and what you're doing. It sounds good. Looking forward to hearing a little bit more about the student loan thing. The only thing that I did not see in the packet last night was I think you and Sayla and Jim Himes received award from New Neighborhoods, and maybe I just missed it, but I wanted to congratulate you on that as well. That's it.
Thank you, Tim.
That was an oversight for sure. Thank you.
That shows you that we not about our awards, but about our work, right? But no, that's an excellent program. Thank you, Nandini. Commissioner Perez?
Yes, I have a question concerning the statement about the program you want us to approve that you have 6 banks involved in. How did they get selected? How did the banks knew about it? How the people were able to participate?
You mean the Build for CT program, Commissioner?
Yep.
Do you want to talk about that a
Sure.
little bit?
Yeah, the concept from the origination was that we would access local banks' pipeline. So we would partner up with participating lenders. We have a participating lender agreement that needs to be executed in order for a participating lender to participate in the program with their borrowers. And essentially what they are agreeing to do is A, market our program for us to other borrowers they may have, and B, share all of their due diligence with us so that we're not duplicating efforts. And they also share their underwriting with us so that we are both using the same assumptions and projections in determining the worthiness of the loan.
We also marketed the, go ahead.
We also did a lenders meeting.
Yes.
I don't remember how many
Yeah,
lenders we had.
we continue to have conversations with lenders and developers. As the lenders have become aware of the program, we've had a series of requests from lenders to do special presentations to them. We also, at the very onset, did a presentation in New Haven where I think we had 9 different lenders attend, and we presented to them. So there's a significant amount of word of mouth here, and Vin Bergen has done a tremendous job at presenting and answering questions with all lenders that have any interest.
And also.
The point that Commissioner Mascara touched on was what I was trying to find out. because in Connecticut, there's over 50 banks. But there's definitely 28 state charter banks. So those I know by heart. And I meet with those on a regular basis, and, I go to their board meetings, and, we have a chat. And I can tell you that to my surprise, there's been a serious number of them, a significant number of them that don't know everything that, that CHFA has to offer or are familiar with it. And part of that is their fault for not being more proactive. So I'll concede that. So that's why my question is, how did the banks knew that this, did we send out a letter to all the banks? Did we advertise how do we make sure that if a bank was interested, especially in those areas, those community banks that serve those areas that have very low percentage of affordable housing?
Yeah,
So that's really my question.
Yeah, with this standard, I don't know if you remember, Commissioner, we asked you for a list of.
Yep.
Yeah, we are over 30 names from your office, and we send the invitation to all of them for the in-person.
You touched what I was looking for, so I'm fine. If you send an invitation to them, then it's up to them to. Then it's up to them to be proactive, and it's up to them to meet the criteria of the program. And I do remember the list, and I expected that the number would be more than 6. So then how did we pick 6? Is it only because 6 responded, or because we can only handle so many?
If I may, it's not just 6, we just have 6 that have currently signed up. What we find is that the banks don't enter into the participating lender agreements with us until they have a deal that's about to close.
Yes.
So we've had conversations with well over 20 different lenders and possibly more. Whenever we have conversations with developers, and we've done a lot of outreach with developers, we've even gone to home builders meetings on, in evenings all over the state. And they've brought banks to us, but it's just that they haven't had a deal that's been poised to close yet. But we expect that number is going to continue to climb as we close more deals.
I was looking through the package and I could have missed it because I was still so excited about my new heart and my Zoom and figuring out how to raise my hand. But can I be provided with the name of those 6 banks? Because I'm going to be spending the next 3 days with those 28 banks in their annual meeting. And I know housing in general is going to come out to a topic, because I know that's one of the presentations they're going to make. So I would love to know what they are. And if it's in the package, then I missed it. As in case, this specific issue comes up, or this specific program comes up, which I don't expect it to.
But even if it doesn't come up, George, it's an opportunity, right, for you to kind of
Right, for me to talk to the other ones that haven't participated or to inquire. Yeah, I agree. So if you could provide me with the 6, the only reason I mention that because this afternoon I'll be traveling to attend the Connecticut Community Bankers annual meeting, and that's made up of those 28 banks versus the one that happens in the fall, which is made up of the other 50-something banks.
Yes,
All right.
So
So we'll give you the list, Pat.
yeah, as soon as the meeting's over, I'll forward the list.
Please, because shortly after the meeting is over, I'll be getting on my car to start to travel.
All right, thank you. Any
Thank you.
other comments? All right. Thank you, Nandini. And we'll hear about the program.
Yes.
After the mortgage committee. So, anything else for you, Andy?
No.
Good, okay. Finance and audit committee, we don't have any action items, but Sarah, do you want to make any comments or not?
Well, it was a very good meeting. We had a lot of discussion about the last bond sale, and it was very strong performance and why that occurred. And we also talked a lot about time to own and how that impacts potentially slower prepayment rates. And so it was a very good discussion, but no action items.
All right, thank you. Mortgage committee, we have 3 resolutions, and Pat, do you want to introduce the first resolution?
Yes, good morning, everybody. Yesterday afternoon at Mortgage Committee, Steve Norris presented a financing request for the Housing Authority of Greenwich's 4th and final phase at Armstrong Court. That request included the approval of a construction permanent first mortgage loan of up to $16.7 million from taxable bond proceeds. The mortgage loan will be split into a 2-note structure. The first will be a construction note of up to $7.2 million, interest only at a rate of up to 6.25% for a term of up to 24 months. The second will be a permanent note of up to $9.5 million at a rate of up to 7.45% with a permanent term of 35 years and amortized over 40 years. The loan will pay interest only during the construction period, and amortization will commence thereafter, continuing through the 35-year permanent term. Phase 4 was awarded 9% credits in the 2023 tax credit round from the preservation class. It will be the fourth phase of a gut rehabilitation project. This phase will complete the complete rehabilitation of all 6 buildings and 150 units at Armstrong Court. Armstrong is located in the southwestern portion of Greenwich in a suburban neighborhood. The town of Greenwich has made significant investments in this area, including new curbing in front of the property, a new bus shelter at Armstrong Court, new swimming pools and playgrounds at a nearby park, and the modernization of the nearby elementary and middle schools. A major bus line has a stop at Armstrong Court and provides continuous daily service to employment and shopping centers in downtown Greenwich, Stamford, and Portchester, New York. The first stop on the bus route after Armstrong Court is the Greenwich Railroad Station, which provides service to New York City and various Connecticut cities and towns. Phase 4 includes 48 units in 2 buildings and a surface parking lot for 201 vehicles. The unit mix will consist of 36 2-bedroom and 12 3-bedroom apartments. 15 units will be targeted to households at or below 50% AMI, and 33 units will be targeted to households at or below 60% AMI. Scope of work is pretty significant, includes all major mechanicals. They're going to be demolishing and replacing all interior partitions, ceilings, walls, floors, kitchens, baths, etc. It will also include new windows, roofs, and exterior masonry walls that will bring the buildings into compliance in current building codes and energy codes. They will also include the creation of ADA compliant units. In addition to the CHFA construction permanent loan, the proposed financing structure includes approximately $13.4 million in 9% tax credit equity, $5 million in DOH funding, a $2.74 million GP loan, $127,000 in energy rebates, and $707,000 in deferred developer fee. Construction is expected to begin later this summer, taking 18 months to complete, and will be followed by an additional lease-up period. Members of the mortgage committee were unanimous in their approval of the request yesterday.
Thank you, Pat. Can I have a motion to approve the motion?
Motion to approve?
You have a second?
Second, Heidi.
Any comments? Dawn, could you do the roll call, please?
Yes. Jerry Abrahams,
Aye.
Cindy Butts,
Yes.
Wendy Clark, Phil DeFranzo,
Yes.
Heidi DeWeingart,
Aye.
Claudio Gualtieri,
Yes.
Timothy Hodges,
Aye.
Catherine McKinnon,
Aye.
Commissioner Mascara Bruno,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez,
Yes.
Franklin Perry,
Yes.
Matt Puglisi,
Yes.
Chelsea Ross,
Yes.
Sarah Sanders,
Yes.
Lisa Tepper Bates, Greg Ugalde.
Yes.
The vote passes unanimously.
Motion carries. Thank you, Dawn. Pat, the next resolution, please.
Yes, yesterday, Joe Vocio presented the modification request for William H. Warner. William H. Warner is a 30-unit independent living facility located, elderly independent living facility located in Woodbridge. The property was built in 1991 under a 60-year ground lease with the town of Woodbridge. The lease commenced in October of 1990 and runs to 2050 at a rent rate of $1 per year. Terms of the lease required the lessee to construct a 30-unit elderly housing project with 6 of the units reserved as income restricted for those with AMIs below 50%. The other 24 units are currently unrestricted. The modification request included, there are 3 different loans on the property. For what's termed the M loan, CHFA will eliminate the surplus cash requirement in exchange for an increase in the number of income restricted units, which will go from 6 to 10. The owner will then have access to this surplus cash for much needed capital improvements and other property related needs. This loan will continue to be fully amortizing. The second loan, termed the N loan, has a current delinquency of approximately $48,000. This loan will be brought current, and again, this loan is also fully amortizing. The loan term, the O loan, is currently a deferred loan that will commence amortization upon execution of the modification. The existing 1% loan will begin amortizing over a 30-year term and will have a balloon payment due at maturity. CHFA had provided $1.1 million in taxes and bond financing back in 1991 with corresponding 4% tax credits and $895,000 in an ITA note at 3%. From 20 to 22 during COVID, the rental rates were not increased, though the property faced significant increases in operating expenses, including the need for new boilers, the repair of burst pipes, and a significant increase in property insurance. The owner was able to keep the M loan current, however, was unable to make payments on the N loan, using the cash to make the necessary property repairs. Emergency repairs were made and the borrower resumed making payments, but has not been able to overcome the past due amount. The modification will bring all loans current. The current owner is John Capone. John's looking to retire. We've been working with him for well over a year on trying to identify an owner that could step in and take over this property. And John was able to find a buyer to acquire his interest and assume the debt. The buyer, Tyler Smith, has been vetted and approved by CHFA's asset management team. Mr. Smith provided a 5-year projected financial plan. His assumptions were reasonable. He expects to face capital needs and other expenditures, including the need for a new roof in the next 5 years. This was the impetus for requesting CHFA to eliminate the surplus cash payment requirement, allowing him the availability of those funds. In exchange for this concession, Mr. Smith agreed to restrict an additional 4 units, bringing the total affordable unit count to 20 and reducing the number of market rate unrestricted units to 20. In response to the comments that were made earlier, CHFA does publish a rental policy requiring limited increases in units restricted under CHFA financing. Last year, that limitation was 4.2%. It's based on CPI plus 200 basis points. Rent increases for market rate units are at the owner's discretion, and CHFA approval is not required. Currently, the market rents at William Warner, as of today, are the equivalent of approximately 30% AMI rents, so they are drastically below market. This is one of the reasons that this property has struggled financially over the past 4 years. We did review the effect of the increases, and assuming a 2% growth in AMI over the next 5 years and a 6% increases in rents over the next 5 years, these rents are still going to be equivalent to rents in the 40% AMI range. The request for the modification was unanimously approved by the mortgage committee yesterday. Questions?
Question from the board members. Commissioner Paris.
My question, if I heard the speaker, he stated that this individual was involved in several lawsuits. Is that true, number one? And number two, are we familiar with what those lawsuits are? Because I mean, just because you get sued doesn't mean you did something wrong. But if there was a lawsuit and it had to do with discrimination or harassment, that kind of stuff, I think that would be germane. And I'm not saying that that's the case. Let's try to figure out.
Yeah, the gentleman that's going to be taking this over, Tyler Smith, has been a property owner for a while, and as property owner, lawsuits do happen. There were no active lawsuits, currently pending at the time of the review. In fact, I know the former owner had some lawsuits as well. We did a full, whenever we review an owner, we do full review of all their financials, their history, their current holdings. And while Mr. Smith doesn't currently have any affordable units, restricted affordable units in his portfolio, we felt that with just 10 units, this would be a good foray for him to enter into the affordable ownership.
Well, I feel more comfortable, and I'm going to be voting for this, but my ask would be that we go back and look at any, say, recent lawsuits, even if they were settled or, say like the last 3 years or so, and make sure that they are your typical type of lawsuits that happen and when you're a property owner, large property owner, versus that there's nothing in there that has to do with discrimination or mistreatment of tenants because you're the landlord,
Yes.
And I'm not saying that every landlord does that. I mean, I just feel more comfortable that, and if the due diligence is already done, fine, I'm fine. I has to believe that we should at least, the fact that he has no experience, I agree with him. Guardrails is not a replacement, but everybody, you can't get experience if you don't get a chance to get experience, right? So I'm okay with that. But the lawsuits is the one that bothers me the most. Not that it bothers me, it's the one that I feel that we should follow up on and make sure that they are your typical things that, he had to evict someone because he didn't pay rent or something like that, or somebody tripped and, they sued him because they felt that he should have fixed the sidewalk and it was decided that it was not his liability, versus something more serious, in my opinion, like discrimination based on sex or color of your skin or, your low income.
Yeah, I have two concerns. In addition to your concerns, Commissioner, on the lawsuit, hearing that is a independent living, increase of the rents. I mean, the new owner have all the rights to increase rents, but what is gonna happen with those residents if they are fixed income and they have been there living for years. So I think that I'm not ready to bring this to a vote because some of the concerns, and I would like for the staff to do a little more because it might be that the residents that are there not gonna be able to afford that 6% every other year. So in the next 3 years, there will be a significant increase in rents. It is perhaps how do we restructure a deal that can also take care of the residents that are there.
You'll get no argument from me, but I didn't want to beat the oddball.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Greg, sorry. Greg?
I was just going to speak on that point, but now, Commissioner, now that you've spoken, I think that you covered it well. I think that yesterday we had a conversation and Scott was present, I think, for some of it, knows that we do, as a mortgage committee, do have some concerns there. And we at least want to make sure that we do the due diligence. So I think that's a good course of action. We were ready to approve it, but let's not stop there and let's look into it a bit more and come back and visit this again as a board.
Thank you, Greg. Any other comments?
Yeah, in terms of so it's one thing transferring management, is there or the ownership, but is there, who's managing the property and is there transfer in the management as well?
Yes.
Do you know that?
Yes, Mr. Smith is going to self-manage. He has.
The owner will do self-management. Any other question?
Commissioner, are there, do we know if there are resident services on site, or resident service coordinator, or any sort of supportive services for the senior tenants?
They're none. They're not. They said that they're not. All right. Yeah, so, can I have a motion to table, this resolution? For next meeting, the staff will do a little more due diligence, and, we'll bring it back at the next board meeting.
I'll make a motion to table.
And I'll second it. And please do include the lawsuit, review the lawsuits.
Yes, yes, we'll do that. Thank you. Comments or questions? John, could you do the roll call, please?
Yes. Jerry Abrahams,
I'm sorry, this is a motion to table?
Yes.
Aye.
Cindy Butts,
Yes.
Wendy Clark, Phil DeFranco,
Yes.
Heidi DeWeingart,
Aye.
Claudio Gualtieri,
Yes.
Timothy Hodges, Kathy McKinnon,
Aye.
Commissioner Mascara Bruno,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez,
Yes.
Franklin Perry,
Yes.
Matt Puglisi,
Yes.
Chelsea Ross,
Yes.
Sarah Sanders,
Aye.
Lisa Tepper Bates, Greg Ugalde.
Aye.
Vote passes unanimously.
Thank you, Don. The next, resolution that we have is the debt to income barrier mitigation program for first-time home buyers with the student loan debt program, and Lisa Hensley is going to present the resolution.
Good morning, everyone. Staff is seeking approval for an investment of $10 million from the Opportunity Fund or other sources to offer a student loan debt pilot program. The program will provide an interest rate reduction of up to 1.125% on first mortgage loans for borrowers that have outstanding student loan debt of at least $15,000. This interest rate buy down will help offset the monthly student debt loan payment and help lower the debt to income ratios to eliminate this barrier that student debt sometimes presents to potential home buyers. It's important to note that we are not limiting the sales price and loan amount other than CHFA's bond limits, but the income is limited to 100% AMI for this program, and we rarely have loans over $500,000. Borrowers may also take advantage of either our DAP program or the time to own program to assist with down payment and or closing costs. Also note that the time to own program is restricted based on need as well. We expect this pilot to assist between 300 and 400 new home buyers. The authority will also partner with HDF to perform a post-closing check-in to discuss their experience and help identify any additional financial or homeownership counseling type services that these borrowers may benefit from. After questions from the mortgage committee, this was approved unanimously for your consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Can I have a motion to approve the resolution presented by Lisa?
I'll make the motion.
Got it?
Second.
Thank you. Comments, questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
How, is there any indication in this program that they're going to verification if the student loan is being paid by the parents or by the kid?
No, we really don't. I mean, in these cases, we're not going to get that deep if you have, because we don't even know, maybe the parents will stop paying at some point.
Right.
You know, so no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to say if the debt is there and it's your debt, and it has at least a $15,000 unpaid principal balance, and it's current or deferred, or even on an income-based repayment plan, it will qualify.
Okay, and then my other question is I noticed, well, first of all, I do want to say this is an amazing idea because there's such, being a lender, there's such a need, and it's so sad when you see people, you know, it's terrible. But, and I noticed where it says Black households carry 28% higher average student loan debts in your description, which is also terrible.
Yes.
Exactly. But is there any way to or any incentive for this program in targeted communities? Like, is there, I keep saying targeted communities, I feel like a record. But is there any like thought of in any way to, or you know, like time to own has a need-based, time to own
Right,
has that
right.
need-based thing where they say you have to at least have a 30% front end ratio. It's like, I just worry that, you know, I don't want this program to be, you know, the rich white kid who happened to have student debt, that it's not going to the true person in need. That's my only.
And we definitely discussed that, and we have our own concerns on that, which is why I like the fact that at least time to own stops that if they're using
Right.
time to own and qualify for time to own. But when we're trying to look at debt, it's a little bit different, as you know, because
Yeah.
when you say, oh, well, you don't have enough debt to qualify, you don't need your debt to income reduced. Well, then they
Right.
go buy a car, come back and go, okay, I've achieved this. Now my
Right.
debt to income qualifies, give me my discount. So it's going to be something, I guess we're going to have to monitor these loans and see
Yeah.
what's coming through and how can we, but it's just a little bit complicated right now,
Yes.
looking at it, when you're looking at debt to income instead of the housing ratio.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, if you have any ideas, please share. So that's
I don't know.
why we're kind of telling-
I like the time to own thing just because the front ratio limits it to people who, you know, are more in need. And I
Right.
just like, once again, it's just like, I hate the idea that the program is going to be used for somebody who, you know.
During the pilot, but during the pilot,
Well-
maybe we'll be able to identify some things that we can, if this is an ongoing program, we can identify ways and have some discussions about what you're seeing as a lender, what we're seeing come through our office and that kind of thing. And then maybe we can think of some way to figure, to kind of, ensure that the money's going really where we want it to go.
Yeah.
So Phil, during the mortgage committee, we did ask Lisa and her team to check in with us at the end of the year to get some idea of who's getting these, who's applying, who's qualifying. So you're absolutely right. That's why this is a pilot. We need to figure it out, and it may not be perfect, but we're gonna try it.
It's a great, I mean, it is such a need. It's such a great idea.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
It really is. It's so sad when you see people who and some people go into these student loans that don't understand it. And then all of a sudden they get out and they're like, holy cow, I can't buy a house, so yeah, it's great. It's a great idea.
And so, I just wanted to respond with two things. One is that our numbers for time to own are showing that 52% are minority households.
Oh, that's great.
So we know we're reaching, and that's all, kudos to Lisa's team.
Yeah.
And Chris and his team on the outreach and stuff we're doing in the communities. The second thing I want to say is, one of the things we considered early on was doing a first generation program, and I think Cindy brought this up yesterday. We're going to see what this looks like, because if it looks like we may need to use a better filtering mechanism, if you will, to get at the communities we want to get at, then that's a possibility. But at the moment, not really having any data about how many of our borrowers are already first gen, we wanted to kind of pilot it, if you will, and see what it looked like and monitor it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So don't be surprised when that becomes a question at your time of reservation.
Any other comments or questions?
I just had one while Phil was speaking, because he was the first one that I thought of when we were going over this yesterday. Phil, what could we do? One of the one of the discussions we had at mortgage committee was how best do we go out to the public, right? What do we go through our normal channels, or how could we best address the people in need for this program?
I honestly think that the team does a good job getting it out there now. Like I mean, so I don't think they should change anything. And it's really encouraging to hear that 52% of time to own is going to minority borrowers. It's such a tricky thing, because New York State just did a program where it's almost a time to own program that they're doing for minorities. And so did like the state of Vermont. A white person just sued for reverse discrimination. So it's a real tricky, I don't know, it's a tricky program. You put covenants in there that for first generation, or then you could open yourself up to. So I don't know, but I think they're doing a great job at getting out there. And it's just that I guess I've done CHFA so many years, and it's I always hate when you see that the person who qualifies, and all of a sudden they're marrying an orthopedic surgeon, and you know what I mean? It's but then there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can really do about that. It's just, you just have to try to get out there and make sure that the people in the targeted communities and minorities and people who really need the program are really what the program's geared for, get it. And I think they're doing a great job doing it, but now, so.
Sometimes it
Thank
can
you,
be
thank you,
done.
Phil.
Yeah.
But targeting is what we kept saying, is we target community group, we target the Black community, we target the Hispanic community, and we see the results that we really have. I don't think any other program have had the result that we have with the 52%.
Yeah.
This by the first home. Any other comment?
I'll just add in terms of outreach, which I know CHFA has done on Time to Own, but particularly for this program, maybe working with this, the Student Loan Fund and other nonprofits that are working directly with the folks that we're trying to reach, might mitigate some of that. What we talked about earlier, lenders, trying to make people fit and those kinds of things, as go directly to some of the nonprofit partners that are working with the target populations for this initiative.
All right, thank you. Other comments? Hearing none, John, could you do roll call, please?
Jerry Abrahams,
Aye.
Cindy Butts,
Yes.
Wendy Clark, Phil DeFranzo,
Yes.
Heidi DeWeingart,
Aye.
Claudio Gualtieri,
Yes.
Timothy Hodges, Catherine McKinnon,
Aye.
Commissioner Mascara Bruno,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez,
Yes.
Franklin Perry,
Yes.
Matt Puglisi,
Yes.
Chelsea Ross,
Yes.
Sarah Sanders,
Yes.
Lisa Tepper Bates, Greg Ugalde.
Yes.
The vote passes unanimously.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a strategic discussion. And it's gonna be run by Lisa and Hazim.
I'm just in the background.
He's there to answer questions. Good afternoon again. As Anthony mentioned, we've been looking at this mobile home financing program that we currently have. I do serve on the mobile home financing working group that was established by the General Assembly to find ways to expand access to mobile home financing. And additionally, Brian Boyagi, our Senior Business Development Officer, also serves on the Mobile Home Advisory Council. And the common theme in both committees is access to financing for these affordable type homes. Most loans offered are considered chattel loans, and they come with a higher interest rate and much higher credit score requirements and such. Next slide. There were 85 mobile manufactured home sales in 2023. CHFA has closed 4 loans since January 2023. Our total amount was almost $364,000, which was averaging just shy of $91,000 per loan. That's a very small percentage of all of the loans that were done and all of the sales. So we're concerned. The people that we're trying to reach. Since 2000, the median price for mobile manufactured home is around $63,000. So based on CHFA's average, it appears our borrowers are most likely downsizing, or refinancing some of their current properties. There are almost 200 licensed parks in the state. So I think there's room for improvement. Capital Change, who administers our program, states the biggest hurdle to accessing our programs is funding the 20% down payment requirement or equity requirement. The next is meeting the debt to income ratios, especially for those on a fixed income. Next slide, please. Oh, wait, we're on it. Oh. Yeah, next slide, sorry. Currently, CHFA's mobile home purchase and refinance programs are separate. So they're separate programs. And as you can see on the screen, both require 20% down payment or equity. Also, although the rate for the refinance is only 1%, we did not have any clients that were able to qualify for the program. The rate for the purchase program is the same as our current rate. So if our current rate is 6 7/8, that's what the rate is for this program. The amortization is 30 years for a purchase program and 20 years for a refinance. Next slide, please. On this slide, you'll see the enhancements and changes that CHFA intends to make. First, we will combine the programs into one program with a fixed set interest rate of 3%. All loans will be amortized for 30 years unless the loan amount is equal to or less than $5,000, in which case it would be 15 years. Keep in mind, we will allow someone to finance a higher amount for 15 years. They don't have to go for 30, but 30 is the max. The most impactful change, I think, in this whole on this suggestion, on this whole thing that we've put together, is the ability to finance up to 100% of the cost of the home and not pay mortgage insurance. The maximum loan amount would be set at $150,000, so the borrower would need to pay the difference in the sales price and the loan amount if the sales price is over $150,000. The maximum DTI, however, will remain at 50%, but hopefully with the lower interest rate and no down payment requirement, more applicants will be able to meet the criteria. Next, I think that's the end. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer it.
Comments, questions? Commissioner Perez.
In general, I like this program and I think is necessary, but conceptually, I have a problem financing something outright 100%. And I'm not saying that we should require 20% or anything like that, because even a low down payment of say 3%, you know, relative to the person's income, that could be a lot of money, right? But the concept of 100% make me feel more comfortable with that.
And you know, we did consider that, but we also considered the fact that our other programs offer down payment assistance, which ends up giving borrowers 100% financing as well. So it was kind of and you know, and we do realize that this is some of the most affordable housing out there for customers. So we felt it was really important to you know, a down payment and closing costs. Next to debt, down payment and closing costs are the hardest way to purchase a home. So in essence, we're giving it as 100% in one loan instead of a first and a second. And so that, and you know, that was just our thoughts.
But this is one of the most difficult type of housing if you foreclose on it, because it's not as marketable as other, number one. Number two, yes, and I'm sure in our portfolio we have a lot of 100% finance loans, but they're not necessarily 100% financed by CHFA in every case. I mean, there could be some other programs that help with the down payment. Again, I believe that everybody should have some, what we call in the banking world, some skin in the game, whether that's 2%, 3%, 5%, you know, doesn't need to be 20% because we're trying to meet a public need. So I just wanted, you know, it wouldn't be myself if I had a concern and I didn't put it on the table. Does not mean the program is not worthy of our support, but I want to go on record saying that conceptually, they always, you know, even if it's another program that gives them the money, you know, as a grant or some other financing, for us to do totally 100% on it, and what would be a very difficult property if we foreclose on it, to be able to get, you know, it's not like your typical, you know, family, you know, single family home that is much more marketable.
No, I understand. I mean, and there has been some recent research that says that these homes are holding their value because they are better constructed, et cetera, et cetera. But I totally understand what you're saying. But I have also seen that closing costs can be extremely high on these So, when buyers have to pay that portion, it can be a significant amount of money just coming up with that closing cost. So we weren't
Well, that's
really,
true no matter what housing you
yeah,
have. That's
sure,
true no matter what
but
housing. So
again,
that's
our
why
down
I'm,
payment assistance covers that. So, yeah, exactly. I see your point. Thank you.
Cindy?
Yes, and I appreciate your continued effort to try to figure out how to assist those in mobile and manufactured homes. Is there any possibility, though, that it not be 15 or 30, that if someone has some different term remaining on their mortgage, that there could just be a way to buy down their price so that they have a lower rate? A lot of times these are seniors, and it's not often good news to get 30 years when you might only currently have 12 remaining or some other number.
So you mean
Is
in
that a
the
possibility?
case of a refinance, do a 15-year term or a
Right, well, or
10-year
something
term?
lower, yeah, or just whatever remaining term they have to really work at refinancing for the remainder of the term that they currently have. Is that a possibility, or does it always need to be 10,
Yeah.
15,
So
I mean,
Cynthia,
50, 30?
I'll let Hazim answer that because we had that discussion.
Okay,
well, I think, part of the process, just like the student loan, when we went into this whole exercise, we were trying to come up with a product that is simple to manage, because we are talking about a certain amount of dollars, trying to have the most impactful. So when we came up with the parameters, we were trying to at least have a baseline to work with. So we knew going in, and we say we can provide a 30-year mortgage, we can refinance for a new 30 years, or we can have a purchase product for 30 years. However, we also recognize in a refinancing world, some of them don't want to have that long, and they want
Right.
to have the opportunity. So that's why we came up with 15, just because that's the industry standard. You do have a 15-year paper out there, but yeah, we can definitely consider doing something different. It was just that we don't want the program to be very unwieldy, because as you know, we have to onboard all these loans. And when you have different amortization, you have to program the system in a certain way. So we didn't want to come up with something where it would just add additional administrative burden just to, run a pilot. So the whole idea was, if we can come up with something that we can get, just like the other pilot, a bit more data, trying to see how we can add more inventory, give more opportunity, either for purchase or to lower the housing costs, I think it's definitely a win. And then from there, we thought about, making adjustments.
thanks.
Thank you. Greg?
Yes, just to when you look at this, the modular industry and the mobile and manufactured home industry, they're going to allow a state like ours to be able to address affordability at a much different pace than other areas. So I like these efforts when we look at this, because it's only recently that HUD's even recognized the axle with manufactured homes. That's really the difference between the off-site construction systems that are used elsewhere. But I really look at it as a positive effort when we're trying to deal with ADUs and offer some of the bigger properties the ability to bring in accessory dwelling units. I really think that this could be a plus. And I think it's worth the effort, because you could see these numbers double over what's going to happen in Connecticut with how expensive it is certainly for new construction, but even finding avenues to bring in additional housing. So I think the more attractive this is in the end, and the more it's utilized, it's only going to fuel the flames for much needed financing in this area.
Thank you, Greg. Cindy, your hand is up, or that was
Yeah, no, it's up again. Are these permitted for ADUs?
We were not thinking about it.
Because that would be great.
Yeah, but I am on a advisory group representing CHFA, and we are talking about ADUs. And when we were talking about financing, I was thinking about this particular program when I was exchanging ideas with the advisory group. But yeah, again, that's part of the reason why we're having the presentation, just to get feedback from members, so that when we bring the resolution the following month, we have taken everything under consideration.
Kathy,
Who, who will be your primary market, do you think, for this? Would it be it would be downsizing, it would be, potentially seniors that are moving out of larger homes, which could then free up those homes for first-time home buyers. So, I mean, if that's a primary market, then you probably wouldn't have 100% financing, because people would probably be coming with some sort of equity if they were selling their home.
Yeah, but I also think that there are a lot of people that can buy these resale units at a much low, that have been there for a while. Maybe they only have to pay $60,000 for it. But of course they have their lot rent. So I think it's also a good first-time home buyer program as well. I think it serves both needs.
Yeah, Kathy, regarding your question too, I do want to make sure that, because I didn't see one particular point for clarification. This particular program, we are also envisioning for the purchase program is available to non-first time home buyers. So we are more focusing on the income eligibility versus whether or not they are first time or non-first time. So part of the whole exercise of coming up with the product was trying to ensure that if somebody was in fact trying to, move down, okay, that they have that opportunity, or downsizing.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, because, I mean, to move to a lot of these 55 and over communities are wildly expensive. And, it is a way to create new housing, and, free up existing housing for people that need the extra space. So.
Yeah, and assisted living isn't affordable either. So it does provide an option that's not out there right now for seniors.
Yeah. I mean, when you go to other parts of the country, this is, a
Right.
huge part of the housing stock. So.
other comments? Or Lisa and Hazim? All right, you guys have, thank you very much.
Thank you for the feedback.
Thank you for the feedback, and you guys will go back at the next board meeting.
Right.
Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move. So move. Oh, I'll second it.
Second, comments, questions? Hearing none, John, can you do a roll call?
Yes. Jerry Abrahams.
Aye.
Cindy Butts.
Yes.
Wendy Clark. Phil DeFranzo.
Yes.
Heidi DeWeingart.
Aye.
Claudio Gualtieri.
Yes.
Timothy Hodges. Catherine McKinnon. Commissioner Mascara Bruno.
Yes.
Commissioner Perez.
Yes.
Franklin Perry.
Yes.
Matt Puglisi. Chelsea Ross. Sarah Sanders.
Yes.
Lisa Tepper Bates. Greg Ugalde.
Aye.
Vote passes unanimously.
There is, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So move.
So moved.
Ooh, Don, you got that? I think there was two people.
Yes, I believe that was Commissioner Perez.
Okay, I'll do a verbal vote. All those that wants to go home, say aye.
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 Anybody wants to take the meeting? All right, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
everyone. Have a great
Thank
day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.